Hey guys, Devin here with Admiral Off-Road, and today we're going to be installing an AWE exhaust on this Chevy Silverado. This is a 2020 Trail Boss 5.3 liter, but the process is going to be the same for all the Gen 4 Silverados, so anything 2019 and newer. Let's get started. Step one is going to be to remove the spare tire. We're going to access that through this little hatch here by the license plate. Once we remove the spare tire, that's going to give us some more room to remove the stock exhaust. You're going to take the spare key from the fob here, and that's going to give us access to lower the spare tire. With the spare tire out of the way, we can now remove the spare tire heat shield. We will reinstall this at the end, but removing it for now will make it much easier to remove the stock exhaust. The shield is held on with 6 13mm bolts. Now that we've got everything out of the way, we can start removing the stock exhaust. We're going to start off by removing this first exhaust clamp. The bolt is on the top, unfortunately, which makes it a little bit hard to get to, but it is a 13mm. Now that we've got this exhaust clamp removed, we're going to move towards the back of the vehicle and pry off all of these exhaust hangers. I'm just going to use a combination of a 13mm wrench and a flathead screwdriver. Seems like I'm able to kind of get it in between here and use it to pry it off. And that seems like it might be the easiest way of removing all of these. Right behind the muffler now, we've got 2 more exhaust hangers that we're going to need to remove, and I'm going to do it in the same way. Working our way back some more, the next thing we're going to do is remove these 2 bolts that are holding these 2 pipes together. It's going to be a 13mm. It's going to need a little bit of a deeper socket for this one. Coming over to the driver's side now, the last bolt that we're going to have to take off to remove the exhaust is going to be this exhaust hanger, and that's going to be a 15mm. And we'll do the same thing on the passenger side. Well, after about 20 minutes of trying to push the exhaust out the back all in one piece, it just wasn't going to happen. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it. Just right behind the muffler here. I've got this part supported by a jack stand. That way it's not all going to collapse on me. But I'm just going to go ahead and cut it there. It's a nice straight piece. And I'm not going to reuse this anyway. So here we go. The last thing we got to remove is the stock exhaust tip. I've already got it done here on the passenger side. Here it is on the driver's side. I'm going to give you an idea just by looking at the one I took off. There are 3 bolts that hold it in. There's one here, and then 2 here, 1 here, and 1 on this side. This one's really easy to get to. Just it goes into the back of the bumper. These 2 are harder. They're up kind of underneath there. There's not a really good way to show you how to do it. You don't have to remove anything to get to it. I was able to get to it with just this ratcheting wrench. Again, it's a 10mm. You can also, if you aren't able to reach it that way, you can remove these bumper caps and then get to them much easier that way. I think I'm going to leave them in place and do the same thing again, just with the ratcheting wrench to remove it. Again, I'm not going to sit here and show you. It's not much to see. It's just, again, 3 10mm bolts. I will take you underneath real quick, just take a look at it. what I'm talking about. So here it is from the back side. The bolts that hold it in, you can see one of them there, one of them on the other side, and then one up top. Again, that one's super easy to get to. The other two, I had to reach behind here, kind of a tight squeeze to get your arm in there, and then from there it's just ratcheting it off. It's not too bad, but it is a bit of a tight fit. And here's the back of the truck now with both of the exhaust tips removed. And here's all these stock pieces removed, which means it's now time to install our new exhaust system. And with the stock exhaust removed, it is of course now time to start up the truck and see how it sounds with no exhaust before we go ahead and install our AWE exhaust. The box we got from AWE. Let's get it inside. I think these are going to be the exhaust tips. A bunch of clamps. Looks like all the tubing. And there's the new AWE muffler next to the old stock one, much smaller. And here's what was in that other box. It's the exhaust tips. You get the choice of either going chrome or these black ones. I went with the black. You get some install instructions, a blow pop, and a sticker, and some hardware. According to AWE, you will need to reuse this stock clamp on your new system here. So I'm going to go ahead and remove it. Using a screwdriver, just pull up on this clip. And you should be able to pull it right out. There you go. All right, let's go ahead and head under the truck and install it. We're back under the truck here. We're going to go ahead and install the new pipe. First thing we're going to do is slide this into the exhaust hanger. I'll turn you so you can see what I just did. Just sliding it into there, into that stock exhaust hanger. And when I install this, I'm going to go ahead and do it sideways instead of vertically like Chevy had it. It's going to be a little bit easier to go back and tighten for the last time and back to adjust anything. But for right now, we're just going to snug everything up. Don't need it tight yet. We actually want to leave it loose enough. That way, if we need to adjust anything to get it to line up, I don't have to go back and loosen it. We'll get everything installed and then tighten it down for the last time. The next step for me is going to be installing the muffler piece. There is an extra piece of tubing if you have the longer wheelbase truck. Mine is not, so I'm going to go right to installing the muffler. You're going to put the flanged bit of tube over this end first, and then you're going to tighten it down with the clamp. All of the hardware, it looks like, for AWE is 16 millimeters, so a little bit different than the stock size. Again, we're just going to get it fitted up and leave it loose. Just snugging it down. You don't have to go too crazy with it. There we go. Just enough to hold it in place. On to installing the next tube now, labeled E26. Again, we're going to slip the flanged bit over this. Leave that loose. And for this one, it has two exhaust hanger that's here. We're just going to slide these guys. There we go. And again, once we've got it in place, we're going to just snug up the exhaust clamp. Nothing crazy. All right, moving right along to the next step here, we're going to install the portion that goes over the axle. And this is the one that is Y-shaped. And just like everything else, slips right on. Put the clamp on and snug it down. Taking a look at that pipe that we just installed here, the directions do say to make sure that this pipe is going to be parallel to this line here in the bed of the truck. So it doesn't quite look like it from this camera angle, but it is parallel there, so we are good to go. Before we install any more pipes here, we're going to reinstall our stock exhaust hangers, one on the driver's side, one on the passenger side. We can now install pipe E28, which is the driver's side, and E29, which is the passenger. And now we can install the next two pieces to our tail pipes. And these are going to be 13 millimeter. Loosely in there. Again, we'll do our final adjustments before we tighten everything down. And now we actually get to install the tips. And you're going to need an 11 millimeter socket. The last step will be adjust everything, tighten everything down, get it right where I want it. I won't take you under the truck for that. There's just going to be a lot of moving stuff around. But the main install is done, so we're going to go ahead and adjust everything, get everything lined up, and I will take you back for a sound test. Now that we've gotten everything where we want it, there is one last step to do. There are these little collars that go over the exhaust hangers just to keep everything in place. I've got everything else tightened down. We've got everything lined up, and I'll show you that in a minute. But again, the last thing is just to take these collars, slip them over here, and tighten them down with the included Allen key. And as a quick side note, that first exhaust clamp where I said that you had to reuse the stock one, now that I'm done, there is an extra clamp in there, so it looks like that's no longer the case. They do provide you with all the clamps that you'll need. You don't have to reuse your stock clamp. All right, well, that's everything installed. Last thing to do is start it up, see how it sounds. All right, guys, that's going to do it for today. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, go ahead and leave them down below. If you like what you saw here, please like and subscribe. As a side note, AWE does make these kits for whatever configuration your Silverado is, whether it has the bumper cutouts or not, or if it's a side exit. This isn't a sponsor video in any way, but I will leave a link to their website in the description if you want to check them out. For long-time subscribers, if you remember my old videos with the Jeep, I do still have that, so I'll be making more videos with the Jeep as well as the Silverado, and probably some motorcycle content as well. So if any of that sounds good to you, again, please subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.